And today I'm going to show you 5 feminine habits that instantly trigger male attraction. And no, these aren't gimmicks or tricks. And these are backed by psychology. They tap into how men are wired to respond emotionally. And here's the best part. When you understand these habits and you stop chasing attention and you start naturally attracting it without pretending to be someone you're not. And because real attraction doesn't come from effort, it comes from energy, presence, and behavior. So if you've ever wondered, and what makes a man feel drawn to a woman almost instantly, and stay with me, because this might completely change how you see attraction. There's something incredibly powerful about a woman who is fully present in the moment. And you can feel it the second she walks into a room. She's not rushing, not scanning for approval, not anxiously wondering who's watching her. Instead, and she's grounded, she's aware, she's there. And that kind of presence is magnetic in a way that's hard to explain, but impossible to ignore. Most people, and without even realizing it, are living slightly outside the moment. They're in their heads, overthinking what to say next, replaying what just happened, or worrying about how they're being perceived. And when you're stuck in that mental loop, your energy becomes scattered, and you might be physically in front of someone, but emotionally and mentally, you're somewhere else. And people can feel that disconnect instantly. But presence is different. Presence is when your mind, your body, and your attention are all aligned in the same place. When you listen, you actually hear. And when you look at someone, you truly see them. When you speak, it's not rehearsed, it's real. And then that creates a kind of emotional intensity that naturally draws people in. From a psychological perspective, and presence signals confidence and emotional security. It tells the other person without a single word, and I'm comfortable in my own skin. And that's incredibly attractive. Because when someone feels that you're not trying to impress them, and not trying to prove yourself, not seeking validation, they relax. They lean in, they become more engaged with you. And think about the difference between someone who's constantly checking their phone, glancing around the room, or giving half-hearted responses versus someone who gives you their full attention, who makes eye contact, who responds thoughtfully, and who reacts in a way that feels genuine. The second person instantly feels more attractive, not because of what they look like, but because of how they make you feel in their presence. And here's the key: presence creates connection faster than anything else. And it makes the other person feel valued, seen, and important. And when someone feels that way around you, they naturally want more of your energy, and they associate you with that feeling. There's also an element of calmness in presence that's deeply appealing. In a world where everything is fast, loud, and constantly demanding attention, someone who is calm and centered stands out. It's almost like they bring a sense of peace into the interaction. And that kind of energy is rare, so when people encounter it, they're drawn to it. But presence doesn't mean being perfect or saying all the right things. And in fact, it's the opposite. It's about letting go of the pressure to perform. It's about allowing yourself to simply be in the moment, and without overanalyzing every word or action. When you do that, your natural personality comes through more clearly. Your laughter becomes more genuine, and your reactions become more authentic. And that authenticity is what creates attraction. Eye contact plays a huge role here as well, and not intense or uncomfortable staring, but soft, confident eye contact that shows you're engaged. It communicates interest without desperation, and it shows that you're open, but not seeking approval. And when paired with a relaxed body language, and it creates a sense of ease that makes others feel comfortable around you. Another important part of presence is listening, and not just waiting for your turn to speak, but truly listening. When someone feels heard, they feel connected. And when they feel connected, attraction begins to build. It's not about dominating the conversation or trying to impress with stories. It's about being curious, asking questions, and responding in a way that shows you care about what's being said. And here's something most people overlook, and presence also means being comfortable with silence. You don't have to fill every gap in conversation. Those small pauses when you're relaxed and at ease and actually create a kind of tension that can feel intriguing and attractive. It shows that you're not anxious, not desperate to keep things going, and you're simply comfortable being there. The truth is, presence is a skill, but it's also a choice. And It's about deciding to step out of your head and into the moment, to stop worrying about how you're coming across and instead focus on the experience you're having. And the more you practice that, the more natural it becomes. Because at the end of the day, and people may not remember every word you said, but they will remember how they felt around you. And when you're fully present and you give them a feeling that's rare in today's world, the feeling of being truly seen and valued. And that is where attraction begins. And there's a common misconception that attraction is built on perfection, that if you just look flawless enough, act polished enough, and say all the right things, you'll instantly become irresistible. But in reality, perfection often creates distance, not connection. And it can feel intimidating, rigid, even a little cold. What truly draws people in, what makes someone feel comfortable, intrigued, and emotionally engaged, and is warmth. Warmth is that subtle, inviting energy that makes people feel safe around you. It's in the way you smile and the way your eyes soften when you look at someone, the way your tone carries kindness instead of judgment. It doesn't demand attention, it welcomes it. And that difference is everything. From a psychological standpoint, human beings are wired to respond to emotional safety. And when someone feels at ease in your presence, their guard drops. They become more open, more relaxed, more themselves. And in that openness is what creates the space for attraction to grow. A woman who radiates warmth doesn't just look approachable, she feels approachable. And that feeling is incredibly powerful. Think about it like this. You could walk into a room looking absolutely perfect, but if your energy feels closed off, and if your expressions are guarded, your body language stiff, your reactions minimal, people may admire you from a distance, but they won't feel drawn to come closer. On the other hand, someone who may not fit conventional standards of perfection, but carries a genuine and warm energy instantly feels more magnetic. People want to talk to her. They want to be around her. They feel good in her presence. A genuine smile is one of the simplest yet most effective expressions of warmth. Not a forced or practiced smile, but one that naturally comes from a place of ease. It signals friendliness, openness, and positivity, and it creates an immediate emotional connection. And when you smile at someone sincerely, it often triggers a natural response. They smile back, they relax, they feel acknowledged. And that small moment can set the tone for the entire interaction. Warmth also shows up in how you respond to others. And it's in the way you listen without interrupting, the way you react with interest instead of indifference, and the way you make someone feel like what they're saying matters. These small behaviors send a strong message. You're safe here, and you're welcome here. And that message builds attraction far more effectively than trying to impress ever could. And there's also a softness to warmth that balances confidence beautifully. And confidence alone can sometimes come across as distant if it lacks emotional accessibility. But when confidence is paired with warmth, and it becomes incredibly appealing. It says, I know who I am and I'm open to connecting with you. That combination creates both respect and comfort, and two essential elements of attraction. Another important aspect of warmth is emotional generosity. And this doesn't mean over giving or losing yourself to please others. It simply means being willing to share positive energy through laughter, encouragement, or lightheartedness. When you bring a positive emotional tone into an interaction, people begin to associate you with that feeling. And naturally, they want more of it. It's also worth noting that warmth isn't about being overly agreeable or saying yes to everything. You can still have opinions and boundaries and strength while being warm. In fact, that balance makes warmth even more genuine. It shows that your kindness isn't a performance, and it's a part of who you are, not something you switch on just to be liked. Body language plays a big role here as well. Open posture, relaxed movements, and facing someone when they speak all contribute to a sense of warmth. Even small gestures like nodding while someone talks or leaning in slightly and signal engagement and interest. These nonverbal cues often communicate more than words ever could. And then there's tone of voice. And the way you say something can completely change how it's received. A soft, friendly tone can make even simple words feel meaningful. And it adds an emotional layer to communication that makes interactions feel more personal and less transactional. And warmth also creates a sense of emotional contrast in today's world. Many interactions people experience daily are rushed, distracted, or surface level. And so when someone encounters genuine warmth, someone who is attentive, kind, and present, it stands out immediately. It feels refreshing, memorable, different. But perhaps the most important thing to understand is that warmth can't be faked for long. People are incredibly intuitive when it comes to emotional energy. And if warmth is forced or used as a tactic, it eventually feels inauthentic. Real warmth comes from a place of self-comfort and genuine interest in others. And it's not about trying to win someone over. It's about creating a space where connection can naturally happen. And when you stop chasing perfection, and when you let go of the pressure to appear flawless, you free yourself to express that warmth more naturally. You become more relaxed, more expressive, and more human. And ironically, that's what makes you more attractive. Because at the end of the day, people aren't drawn to perfection, and they're drawn to how you make them feel. And warmth has a way of making people feel seen, appreciated, and at ease. And when someone feels that around you, attraction doesn't have to be forced. It simply happens. And one of the most underrated yet powerful drivers of attraction is emotional expressiveness and the ability to naturally show what you feel in a moment without filtering it too much or holding it back out of fear. And it's not about being dramatic or over the top. It's about being real. And that realness creates a kind of emotional connection that logic alone simply can't. And a lot of people think attraction is built through saying impressive things or appearing composed all the time. But what actually creates a spark is emotional feedback. When someone shares something and sees it land, when they see you react, laugh, smile, or even show surprise, it creates a loop of connection. It tells them, I'm not just talking to you. I'm feeling this interaction with you. And from a psychological perspective, emotions are contagious. This is often referred to as emotional contagion, and the idea that people naturally mirror and absorb the emotions of those around them. So when a woman is expressive, when she laughs freely, shows excitement, and reacts, it elevates the emotional energy of the entire interaction. And that elevated emotional state becomes associated with her. And think about the difference between telling a story to someone who barely reacts. Maybe they nod, maybe they give a quiet, "That's nice." And versus telling the same story to someone who lights up, laughs at the right moments, asks follow-up questions, and shows genuine curiosity. And the second experience feels alive, it feels engaging, and you walk away remembering that person more, even if you can't explain exactly why. And that's the power of emotional expressiveness. It turns a simple interaction into an emotional experience. And there's also a sense of authenticity that comes with being emotionally expressive. When someone is willing to show how they feel, it signals honesty and it removes the guesswork. It makes the interaction feel more transparent and real, and that builds trust quickly, which is a key foundation for attraction. But here's where many people hold themselves back. They're afraid of being judged. They think, what if I laugh too much? Or what if I seem too excited? Or what if I show too much? So they tone themselves down. They become more reserved and more controlled. And while that might feel safer, it also makes them less engaging, because attraction thrives on emotional contrast and on moments that feel different, unexpected, and alive. If your reactions are always neutral, always measured, the interaction can start to feel flat. But when you allow yourself to respond naturally, to smile when something is funny, to express surprise when something is interesting, and to show enthusiasm when you're excited, you create those emotional highs and lows that make conversations memorable. Laughter, in particular, plays a huge role here. A genuine laugh is one of the most attractive things you can express. It signals joy, openness, and comfort, and it creates a shared moment that both people feel. And it breaks down barriers quickly. It's not about forcing laughter, and it's about allowing it when it comes naturally. Facial expressions are another key part of this. Your face communicates constantly, even when you're not speaking. A raised eyebrow, a soft smile, a look of curiosity, these subtle expressions add depth to your communication. And they show that you're engaged, that you're present, that you're responding emotionally. Your voice also carries emotional cues. The tone, the rhythm, and the variation, all of it contributes to how your message is received. A flat, monotone delivery can make even interesting words feel dull. But when your voice reflects your emotions, when it lifts with excitement, softens with sincerity, or quickens with enthusiasm, it draws people in. And here's something important. Emotional expressiveness doesn't mean sharing everything or being vulnerable instantly. And it's not about oversharing personal details or exposing your deepest feelings right away. It's about expressing your reactions in the moment. And it's about letting your personality show through your responses. There's also a playful side to emotional expressiveness. Reacting with light teasing and mock surprise or exaggerated curiosity can create a sense of fun and unpredictability. It keeps the interaction dynamic, and it adds a layer of excitement that makes the other person more engaged. At the same time, emotional expressiveness creates a sense of permission. And when you allow yourself to be expressive, it signals to the other person that they can do the same. And it creates an environment where both people feel comfortable being more open, more relaxed, more themselves. And that mutual openness deepens the connection. And another important aspect is that expressiveness shows confidence, not in a loud or dominant way, but in an emotional sense. And it shows that you're not afraid to be seen, that you're comfortable enough with yourself to let your reactions be visible. And that kind of confidence is incredibly attractive because it feels genuine. It's also worth noting that emotional expressiveness makes you more memorable, and people might forget the exact words you said, but they'll remember how animated you were, how you laughed, how you reacted, and they'll remember the feeling of the interaction. And that feeling is what lingers. In contrast, when someone is emotionally closed off, it creates distance, and it makes the interaction feel one-sided. The other person may feel like they're putting in more effort, trying to read signals that aren't clearly there, and that uncertainty can weaken attraction. So the goal isn't to become someone else or to exaggerate your personality, and it's to remove the filters that are holding you back from expressing what's already there, and to allow your natural reactions to come through without overthinking them. Because when you do that, when you let yourself feel and show those feelings, and you create something that goes beyond surface level interaction, you create emotional resonance. And that's what makes someone not just attractive, but unforgettable. And there's a certain kind of energy that instantly changes the dynamic between two people, and that's playfulness. It's light, it's fun, and it's a little unpredictable, and it brings a sense of ease into any interaction. When a woman carries playful energy, and it shifts the conversation from something ordinary into something exciting, it creates a spark that logic and seriousness alone can't produce. And a lot of interactions fail not because there's no interest, but because everything feels too serious, too structured, or too safe. And people stick to predictable questions, polite responses, and neutral tones. And while that may be comfortable, it rarely creates attraction. And attraction thrives in moments that feel different, moments that break the pattern. That's exactly what playfulness does. From a psychological point of view, and playfulness triggers positive emotional states. It activates curiosity, excitement, and even a slight sense of challenge. And these emotions increase engagement and make the interaction more memorable. When someone feels good, intrigued, and slightly off balance in a fun way, and they become more invested in the conversation and in the person they're talking to. Playfulness often shows up through teasing, but not in a harsh or critical way. It's light teasing, the kind that makes someone smile, not feel judged. It could be a playful comment, a witty remark, or a joking exaggeration. For example, instead of responding in a straightforward way, you might twist the response slightly, add humor, or challenge something in a fun way. This creates a back and forth dynamic that feels alive. And what makes teasing attractive is that it introduces a bit of tension, but a positive kind. It's not about putting someone down, and it's about creating a moment where they feel slightly challenged while still feeling comfortable. That balance is key. Too much seriousness creates boredom, but too much intensity without warmth can feel uncomfortable. Playfulness sits perfectly in between. It keeps things light while still engaging. And another important aspect of playful energy is spontaneity. When you're playful, you're not overthinking every word. You're responding in the moment and allowing your natural sense of humor and creativity to come through. That spontaneity makes the interaction feel genuine and dynamic, and it shows that you're not trying to control the conversation, you're enjoying it. And there's also an element of unpredictability in playfulness that makes it exciting. When someone can't fully predict how you'll respond, and it keeps them mentally engaged. They start paying more attention. They become more curious. And curiosity is a powerful driver of attraction, and it keeps the interaction from becoming routine or forgettable. Playfulness also reduces pressure. When conversations feel too serious, and people often become self-conscious, they start worrying about saying the right thing, making the right impression, or avoiding mistakes. But when the tone is playful, that pressure disappears. It creates a space where both people can relax, laugh, and enjoy the moment without overanalyzing it. And body language plays a big role in conveying playful energy as well. A slight smile, a raised eyebrow, a light tone of voice, and these subtle cues signal that you're not being completely serious. They add layers to your communication that make even simple words feel more engaging. And the way you say something can completely change how it's received. Playfulness also allows for a deeper emotional connection over time. And while it starts as something light and fun, it builds a foundation of positive shared experiences. When two people laugh together, tease each other lightly, and enjoy each other's company, it creates a sense of familiarity and comfort. That comfort can then evolve into something more meaningful. And it's important to understand that playful energy isn't about trying to be funny all the time or forcing jokes into every conversation. In fact, and forcing it can have the opposite effect. Real playfulness comes from a relaxed mindset. It's about not taking everything too seriously. And it's about being willing to have fun with the moment instead of trying to manage it perfectly. There's also a confidence behind playfulness. And when you're playful, you're showing that you're comfortable enough to step outside of a strictly proper way of interacting. And you're willing to take small social risks, like teasing, joking, or being a little unconventional. And that willingness signals confidence in a subtle but powerful way. At the same time, playfulness requires awareness. And it's important to read the other person's reactions and adjust accordingly. If they respond positively, laughing, engaging, teasing back, you can continue. And if they seem uncomfortable, you dial it back. That sensitivity ensures that playfulness remains enjoyable rather than overwhelming. And another to playful energy is the ability to create little moments of surprise. This could be through an unexpected response, a creative comment, or a shift in tone that catches the other person off guard in a good way. These moments stand out because they break the pattern of predictable conversation. And those are often the moments people remember most. Playfulness also creates a sense of partnership when both people engage in it, and it feels like you're building something together, a shared rhythm, a shared sense of humor. It turns the interaction into a kind of game, and where both people are contributing to the experience. That shared dynamic strengthens the connection. In contrast, when interactions lack playfulness and they can feel transactional, like an exchange of information rather than an experience. And while information can be useful, it doesn't create emotion. And without emotion, attraction struggles to grow. So the goal isn't to change your personality or become someone you're not. And it's to allow yourself to be a little lighter, a little more relaxed, a little more open to fun. To stop treating every interaction like it has to be perfect and instead treat it like something to enjoy. Because when you bring that playful energy into a conversation, you're not just talking, and you're creating a feeling of excitement, curiosity, and enjoyment. And that feeling is what people are naturally drawn to. And there's a quiet kind of power in confidence, the kind that doesn't need to announce itself, doesn't demand attention, and doesn't try to prove anything. And it's steady, grounded, and self-assured. And when that confidence is expressed without arrogance, and it becomes one of the most attractive qualities a person can have, confidence at its core is about how you see yourself, and it's the belief that you are enough as you are, without needing constant validation from others. But what makes it truly magnetic is when that belief is paired with humility and openness. And because confidence without humility can feel intimidating or distant, while confidence with warmth feels inviting and safe. From a psychological perspective, and people are naturally drawn to those who seem secure in themselves, it signals emotional stability. It suggests that you're not easily shaken and not overly dependent on external approval. and not trying to be someone you're not. And that sense of inner stability creates a strong foundation for attraction because it makes others feel more at ease around you. But there's a fine line between confidence and arrogance, and understanding that difference is key. Arrogance often comes from insecurity. It's loud and it seeks attention, and it tries to elevate itself by diminishing others or constantly proving superiority. Confidence, on the other hand, is quiet, and it doesn't need to compete. It doesn't need to compare. It simply exists. A confident woman doesn't walk into a room thinking, and I need everyone to notice me. She walks in thinking, I'm comfortable being here. And that subtle shift in mindset changes everything. And it affects how she carries herself, how she speaks, how she interacts. There's a calmness in her presence that naturally draws people in. And body language plays a huge role in expressing this kind of confidence. Standing tall, moving with ease, maintaining relaxed eye contact. And these small cues communicate self-assurance without saying a word. There's no rush, no tension, no need to overcompensate. And everything feels natural and unforced. Tone of voice is another powerful indicator. Confidence comes through in a steady and clear voice that isn't overly loud or overly soft. It's not about dominating the conversation, but about speaking with intention. And when you speak with confidence, people are more likely to listen, not because you demand it, but because your energy invites it. And confidence without arrogance also shows up in how you treat others. A truly confident person doesn't feel threatened by someone else's success, intelligence, and/or presence. Instead of competing, they appreciate. Instead of trying to outshine, they connect. And this creates a positive dynamic where others feel respected rather than judged. There's also an important element of independence in confidence. And it's not about being distant or unavailable, but about not relying on someone else to define your worth. When you have your own sense of identity and your own interests, your own direction, it makes your presence more compelling. You're not looking for someone to complete you, and you're inviting them to be part of your already full life. At the same time, confidence allows for vulnerability. This might sound surprising, but the ability to be open, to admit when you don't know something, or to express genuine feelings without fear, that's a form of strength, and it shows that you're secure enough to be real, and that kind of authenticity deepens attraction far more than trying to appear perfect. And another key aspect is not over-explaining or over-justifying yourself. When you're confident and you don't feel the need to constantly defend your choices or seek approval for your opinions, you can express what you think or feel and leave it at that. And that simplicity carries a sense of self-trust that others can feel. Confidence also changes the way you handle attention, and instead of chasing it or depending on it, you receive it with ease. Compliments don't make you overly flustered, and lack of attention doesn't shake you, and you remain steady. And that steadiness creates a sense of mystery and intrigue, because it shows that your value isn't tied to external reactions. And it's important to understand that confidence doesn't mean never feeling doubt. Everyone experiences moments of uncertainty, and the difference is in how you respond to those moments. Confidence allows you to move forward despite them. It's not about being fearless, and it's about not being controlled by fear. There's also a subtle attractiveness in someone who knows their boundaries and respects them. And confidence gives you the ability to say no when something doesn't align with you without guilt or hesitation. And that self-respect signals to others that you value yourself. People tend to treat you the way you treat yourself. So when you carry yourself with respect, and it naturally earns respect in return. Attraction often grows in the space where admiration and comfort meet. Confidence creates admiration. It shows strength and self-awareness and independence. But when that confidence is softened with humility and kindness, it also creates comfort. And that combination is incredibly powerful. In contrast, when someone lacks confidence, they may seek constant reassurance, overanalyze interactions, or try too hard to impress. This can create pressure in the interaction and make things feel less natural. But when confidence is present, and everything feels more relaxed, more balanced, more enjoyable, ultimately, and confidence without arrogance is about being secure enough to be yourself without needing to prove anything to anyone. It's about knowing your worth but not needing to announce it. It's about being comfortable in your own presence and allowing others to experience that comfort when they're around you. And because someone senses that you're grounded, self-assured, and genuine, it creates a kind of attraction that goes beyond surface level. It feels real, and it feels stable, it feels rare. And that's the kind of energy people don't just notice, they remember. And one of the most misunderstood dynamics in attraction is the idea of effort, specifically who is investing in whom. And a lot of people believe that to create attraction, they need to give more, do more, show more, and prove more. But psychology often shows the opposite. An attraction tends to grow stronger in the person who is investing more emotionally, mentally, and even physically into the connection. And this is where the concept of letting him invest becomes so powerful. It's not about manipulation or playing games. And it's about understanding a natural human tendency. People value what they put effort into. When someone chooses to invest their time, attention, energy, and care into you, they begin to form a deeper emotional attachment. That investment creates meaning. Think about it in simple terms, and when someone works hard for something, they appreciate it more. The same applies to relationships. If everything is handed over too easily and without any effort required, it can reduce the perceived value of the connection. But when there's a sense of contribution, of earning moments, and of building something step by step, it becomes more significant. Letting him invest starts with creating space for that effort to happen. And if you're constantly the one initiating conversations, planning everything, giving all the attention, and making things easier every step, and you unintentionally remove the opportunity for him to step forward. And when that opportunity is missing, so is the emotional investment that comes with it. And this doesn't mean withdrawing completely or becoming distant. It's about balance. It's about allowing a natural back and forth dynamic to develop. And when he reaches out, you respond. When he makes an effort, you appreciate it. But you don't feel the need to carry the entire interaction on your shoulders. And there's also a psychological principle at play here known as the justification effect. When people put effort into something and they subconsciously convince themselves that it must be valuable, otherwise, why would they be investing so much? So when a man takes the time to plan and to pursue, to engage, he's not just acting, he's reinforcing his own feelings of attraction. And another important aspect of letting him invest is emotional availability without over-giving. You can be warm, engaging, and open, but still allow him to earn deeper levels of connection over time. Instead of revealing everything all at once, you let the interaction unfold gradually. And this creates a sense of progression, which keeps the connection interesting and meaningful. Appreciation also plays a key role. And when someone invests effort and it's acknowledged, even in a simple, genuine way, it reinforces that behavior and it makes them feel valued and encourages them to continue investing. But appreciation doesn't mean excessive praise or overreaction. And it's about recognizing effort in a natural, balanced way. There's also something attractive about someone who isn't immediately available all the time. And when your time and attention are not constantly accessible, it signals that you have a full life, that you have priorities, interests, and a sense of independence. And that makes your attention feel more valuable when it is given. Letting him invest also requires patience. And in a world where instant gratification is common, allowing something to build slowly can feel unfamiliar. But that slower build often leads to stronger and more lasting attraction. It creates anticipation, and it gives both people time to develop genuine interest rather than rushing into something based on surface level impressions. And it's important to understand that this isn't about testing someone or creating artificial challenges. It's about not overcompensating. And it's about trusting that if someone is genuinely interested, they will take initiative. And by stepping back slightly, you give them the space to do that. And there's also a deeper level to this concept, emotional investment. It's not just about actions like planning or messaging, but about how much someone is thinking about you, caring about your reactions, and considering your feelings. When a man invests emotionally and he becomes more connected, and that connection strengthens attraction. At the same time, and letting him invest helps you observe his level of interest more clearly. When you're not constantly driving the interaction, and you can see how much effort he's willing to put in on his own. This gives you valuable insight into his intentions and level of engagement, and boundaries are an important part of this dynamic as well. When you have clear boundaries around your time, energy, and attention, and it naturally encourages the other person to step up if they want to be part of your life. It shows that your presence is something to be valued and not taken for granted. It's also worth noting that letting him invest doesn't mean tolerating a lack of effort. And if someone consistently shows little to no initiative, it's not your role to compensate for that. Attraction grows through mutual engagement, and both people should be contributing, even if the form of contribution varies. Another subtle aspect is the emotional reward that comes from investing. And when someone puts effort into making you smile, making you feel good, or creating positive experiences with you, and they see that it works, and it creates a sense of satisfaction. That satisfaction reinforces their desire to continue. Ultimately, and this habit is about shifting from a mindset of how do I make this work to how do I allow this to develop naturally. It's about trusting the process of attraction rather than trying to control it. And because when someone chooses to invest in you, not because they have to, but because they want to, that's where real attraction begins to take shape. And it's not forced, it's not one-sided, it's built. And what's built with effort tends to last.